Hello everyone, welcome back to my video series. So in this video, we're gonna learn how to integrate our Selenium automation project with Jenkins basically, right? And even before learning that, we're gonna also talk about why Jenkins is required, what is Jenkins, how do you install that, and so on and so forth, right? Now, Now, as you know, right, if I talk about this project, right, the automation project which we created, right? So in this we took couple of test cases, we automated them, and in order to execute these test scripts, we need to invoke this testng.xml file, right? We do is we right click this and we say run as testng suite, right? But if you see a real project situation, right, you never know that at what time you're gonna get the QA build for testing, right? So let's imagine a situation that you have received QA build for testing at 6 p.m. in the evening, right? Now, in this case, of course, nobody will stay back and do the regression pack, right? So, of course, any team would prefer to come next day and then they would pick that test scripts for test cases for execution, or even if it's an automation project, you can of course execute all your scripts next day only, right? Because by the time you receive this build, you have left for the day. So in this case, you have spent, or rather, you have waited for the entire night and next day you started, right? You could not invoke your test automation pack immediately. So of course there was of course this will impact the delivery, right? Because you have lost some time, you could not start because there's a manual intervention in executing your test scripts, right? So how to bridge this gap, or how we can overcome this situation, right? So in this case, Jenkins would come in picture, right? So Jenkins is a CI server. Okay, so that is called as continuous integration server basically. Okay, now how Jenkins plays the role here? So it's basically we're gonna configure our project onto Jenkins. Okay, so you basically configure automation project on Jenkins. Number one step we're gonna do, right? And as I said, okay, it's a continuous integration server. It means you can schedule your builds, okay? That okay, I want to execute my automation project at so and so date and so and so time, right? Or maybe I also want to invoke my test automation scripts whenever I received any check-in or check out onto my GitHub repository, right? So I can define different build triggers basically, right? So it's basically, in other words, we can also call this as a scheduler, kind of a scheduler as well, right? So Jenkins has so many plugins. I'm going to talk about that as well. And but however, from an automation perspective, we hardly use one or two plugins to integrate our code with Jenkins, right? Now, now how do I set up the Jenkins, right? So basically, you need to install basically Jenkins war file basically, or nowadays it is coming as a Windows service as well. Okay, so how to download that? So let me do that. So I'm gonna go to Google, very simple, and all I need to do is I simply need to do here download Jenkins war, like this. So if you see, I'll okay, the very first link you can click on. Yep, so if you see, so I have come to this page now, okay? And if you see, this is the latest version of Jenkins, Okay, so you can download, if you see these were the previous versions, okay, you can take the latest one, or you maybe if you want you can take the earlier one as well. Okay, so all you have to do is just simply click on this, and then it's gonna download that file on your local machine in download section basically. Okay, even I will try to download the latest one. Now once you download this file, this is a 72 MB file roughly. Okay, then guys, you're gonna get something called as, let me show you. So you will see a file like this getting downloaded on your machine. Okay, so anyways, I have downloaded the latest one, but on my machine I already have this one. Okay, so let's go ahead. By the time it downloads, let's assume that this file has started, this file has been downloaded, and now I want to start my Jenkins server basically, right? So once the installation is done, let's start the Jenkins server basically, right? So how do you start Jenkins server? All you need to do is go to command prompt, right? Let me close the existing Jenkins session. Okay, so you need to go to command prompt, go to the drive where you have located that file. Let's say it's in my Jenkins folder under S drive. I'll do dir, it's for directory listing. And if you see, this is the file I was talking about. I have downloaded this one. Earlier I was having this file, okay? And now if you see, the version even has changed to 2.1.156. That's fine, okay? Now, in order to execute or in order to start Jenkins server, all you need to do is just write down the command java-jar, because you want to execute jar, and you can just simply give the name like this. Okay, Jenkins underscore two underscore like this, and you need to hit enter button. So this will start your Jenkins server. Okay, it takes little time. Okay, now this is the process for, starting Jenkins on your local machine. However, in offices, okay, of course, they keep running the Jenkins on certain server. Okay, in offices what happens, the server will be up and running. Okay, there will be an office mein, there will be Jenkins server on which Jenkins would be up and running. So all you need to do is you can ask your colleagues uh, uh, for the server address, right? But if you want to do it on your local machine, of course you have to start server on your own, right? Now you need to wait. As I said, it takes a little while to start the server, so it's still starting. If you see, these are the logs actually, and then once you see the line that Jenkins is up and running here, it means the Jenkins has started successfully. So I'm just waiting for that particular line to come here. It will come in a minute. Yeah, so if you see, still logs are coming. So I'm expecting that line to come in another 10 seconds. Let's see. So what we did basically, we just fired one command, java-jar, and the file name basically. Okay. And meanwhile, let's see if the file, see, if you see, the file got downloaded as well. Okay, so anyways, I'm not using this version, so I'm using the earlier version. That's fine, as I said. Okay, now here we go. So if you see, the line will come, Jenkins is fully up and running basically, right? So once you see this line, it means that the server has successfully started. Now all you need to do is, now let me close the existing session. Now after that, this Jenkins always starts on 8080 port. So I'm gonna launch it, local host. If you see, 8080, right? This is the always port, this is the port on which Jenkins always starts. This is specifically for a local machine, right? Of course, as I said, if it's running on some remote server, you need to get the address of the Jenkins server from your colleagues, right? And just say hit enter. Let me do it again. Just a second, it's not coming up. Okay, all right, so it's coming up now. So if you see now, when you hit this address, you will come to a welcome page. Now those who are doing for the first time, the screen, the first screen would be a little different. On that screen, it's gonna give you the password basically. So you need to grab that password. It's gonna give you that at what directory it is storing the password. So grab that password and do the first login, right? And then the next screen which you're gonna come across is the screen where it is asking to download the plugins. Okay, so you can go ahead with the default plugins. Don't select. You just say go install default plugins. Okay, so those two screens you will see for the first time. Now since I have already done those steps, so unfortunately I cannot see those screens, right? And then once you do that, once you do those steps, next time onwards you're gonna also get the screen. Okay, so I'm gonna just do the login here. Just a second, right? So if you see, I'm able to log in, right? Now this is typically Jenkins homepage, right? Once you do a login, you're gonna see the screen. Now on the left hand side, if you see, there's something called as new item, then people, build history, then you've got manage Jenkins, credentials, and so on and so forth, right? Let's go to manage Jenkins. Okay, so if you see here, so here you can go to something called as manage plugins, and you can download any plugins whichever you want basically. So as I said, from automation perspective, we gonna hardly use any of the plugins. We might use GitHub and so on and so forth. Others, from a developer perspective, they might want to download these plugins. Okay, so but just for your information, in case you want to add any plugins to your Jenkins, this is how you need to go here. Okay, go to manage Jenkins and then plugin manager. Okay, and then here you see different plugins. So all you need to do is select any plugin and simply you just need to say download now or install after restart. Okay, so in use, we don't need them now. Okay, and if you see on my machine, if I go to install tab, so these are the installed one. Okay, so if you see, these are the installed ones. Okay, so as I said, you might want to have git. Okay, the others are not that important, we hardly use them. Okay, now, right, now another thing is that let me go to configure system. Okay, not this one, sorry. Okay, so let me go to Jenkins now. Okay, now now let's try and integrate our project onto Jenkins. So how to do that, right? So let me click on the new item. Now if you see, now when I clicked on new item, it asks me what type of project you want to create basically. Okay, so you've got two options here. One is the freestyle project and the other one is the Maven project. So let's talk about freestyle project. So I'll click on freestyle. So I need to give the name here. So I'm going to just say here Selenium test ng, because R is a test ng project, integration, and I'll give today's date like this. Okay, some name I have given, right? And then just say okay, right? And then guys, so if you see now, I have come inside the project and there are certain sections to be filled up. Okay, so what this project is all about, so I'm going to just say here, this is Selenium web driver automation project for Zoho CRM project, like this, right? Now the next thing guys you need to define is you need to click on the advanced link here, and you need to define what is the workspace of your project. Basically workspace as in at which location it is located, right? So let me go to our Eclipse and let's say this is the project I want to integrate with. So I'll just copy this project path. So I'll right click, go to properties, copy this path, okay, and then put it over here, right? So this is the workspace of my project, right? Then if you scroll further down, okay, so this is something called a source code management. Okay, you can also pull your project from Git is a repository, right? GitHub. But since this is open source, we cannot do it on our personal laptop. Then these are build triggers. So basically build triggers are nothing but at what, like on what event you want to execute your project, right? It could be that let's say every 1 hour I want to execute test scripts, or every let's say night at let's say 10 p.m. I want to execute my test script. So you can define the frequency at which you want to execute a project. Okay, the other build triggers could be, let's say if there's a check-in onto my source code, okay, then I want to execute my code. Okay, so these are the build triggers. Let's not select any build triggers for now. Okay, let's do the manual execution. This is not that important for us. And now the important step is this one. So what you want to do basically whenever you build this particular project, whenever you execute this project, what action you want to perform. So this is the step where you're going to define your project execution point basically, right? So let's say, since we want to execute our project, so I'll select execute Windows batch command. This is one way of executing your project through Jenkins, that you can call your batch command of your project, right? Then there are some other options as well. We're gonna select this one. Okay, this is the most common option used here. Okay, and now guys, all you need to do is you need to specify the batch file of your project. Okay, now the question comes, what is batch file? Okay, so if you see here in this project, let's imagine if I give this project to some functional tester, okay, and then if I ask you to execute, if I ask him to execute this project, of course he has to open Eclipse, and then from Eclipse he has to click on right click this file and then do a run as test engine, right? But if he is a manual tester or a functional tester, he would find this task a little difficult, right? So in that case, we might want to create one batch file which we can execute through command prompt. Okay, so batch file is nothing but a command, is a file which can be executed through a command prompt. Let me show you like this. So let's say this is command prompt. Let's say I want to go to my H drive, okay, and then let's say I want to go to Jenkins folder, and then I want to do dir. Let's say, so how many commands I have fired here? 3 commands, right? So let's say this is a repetitive task I want to do every time. So to avoid this repetitive task, what I'm going to do here, I will create one batch file. Okay, like for example, I want to go to h colon first, then I want to do cd, let's say Jenkins, right? And then let's say I want to fire dir, right? These 3 commands I just wrote on the command from one by one, and then this is the output I got. So rather than remembering all these commands one by one, what I can do, I can create a batch file of these particular commands. Batch is nothing but combination of multiple commands. So I'm going to simply say save as, let's say, or save, anything will do. Now, how do you create a bat command basically, right? So let me show that. So I'll go to batches, just a second. I'll create one bat file. Let's say I'm going to create over here itself. Okay, so while creating a bat file, you need to give the name in double quotes, guys. Okay, for example, let's say bat sample, okay, file, and the extension has to be bat, keep in mind. Okay, and then I'm going to say all files. So do you see sample file dot bat? So the extension has to be bat. Okay, and just say save here. Now if you see here, now whenever you create bat file, okay, the bat file would always be created like this. Let me show you. So this is the project where I have saved, and if you see, this is the icon which got created. Now if I just double click on this file, you would see all those commands getting fired onto your command prompt, and then it's executing the required task. So it's doing very fast. If you see, do you see, it's doing very fast. So what we are achieving out of bat file basically, so bat file is basically a single file for executing your project through command prompt basically. Okay, so for example like this, so I'll go to command prompt, I'll simply go to S drive, okay, and I'll simply copy paste this file. Okay, and if you execute, see, it is doing the same task what I was doing earlier. Okay, so that's a bat file. Now the similarly, in order to execute testng from command prompt, we need to create bat file for our automation project. Okay, and how to do that basically? Okay, so if you see, now in our project we have two things here. One is the libraries. These are nothing but the jars which we need for our project, and the other thing is your binary code, right? So if I want to execute this project through command prompt by calling this testng.xml, this testng.xml should know where are my jars located and where is my binary code located, right? Then only of course it can execute your project. When we run it from Eclipse, of course it understands because it's there in the project structure. But when you run it from command prompt doesn't knows that where are your files located, your libraries are located, then where is your bytecode, right? So in order to do that, what we do basically, we need to write down a command like this. Okay, we need to say java hyphen cp is for class path. So my class path is at this location, that is dot libs, and then this colon is for separator. Again, some of the files are over here, and then in order to execute testng through command line, you need to call this class org testng.testng testng.xml basically. So this is the line what we need here. Okay, so I'm going to copy this, and let's create another bat file for our project. So I'm going to paste this particular file. Now if you see, in our case we have given libs folder name as capital L, so I'm gonna give libs, and then this will remain as it is, correct? Now I will save this file at this project location. All right, I'm gonna just do save as, and I will give some meaningful name. Let's say execute Zoho CRM regression to a suite dot bat basically, right? This is how you have to create a bat file. As I said, it should be in double quotes and the extension has to be bat, and just click on save, right? See, this file got created, right? And as I said, Now if you just zip this project and if you give it to your manual teammate or any functional tester, he all he has to do is he has to unzip and just double click on this file wherever is this project is. And if you see now, I'll simply just double click on this file and you would see the execution will get start. Just a second, there's some problem it seems. 1 minute, let me see what went wrong here. Yeah, the file seems to be correct. Okay, let me do it one more time. Okay, let me drag drop this file here and try to execute. Okay, okay, I got it. I think I've not included test ng jars here. Just a second. Yep, now I got it. So I need to have these two jars basically. Yep, and now let's give it a try. Yep, so here we go. So if you see, when I double clicked on that particular file, so it has picked the code now and then it is starting the execution. So let's see. So if you see, it has started the Chrome driver and you would see a browser coming up in a while. See, a browser is coming up, that's the Chrome browser, and then it has started the execution. So what is the purpose of a bat file here? So bat file is basically is just a file with extension .bat, and then if you double click on that file or you simply run it from command prompt, your entire execution is kicked off basically, right? Now let this execution go in the background. Now now let's come back to Jenkins. So now Jenkins requires the bat file to be executed here, correct? So all you have to do is just give this bat file name in your Jenkins project. That's it. Okay, so I'm gonna just give the, I'll just say copy the path. I'll go to Jenkins and just put it like this. Got it? And how it picks the file, because I have already configured the workspace in the project, right? So I'm gonna just do save and just say apply. Okay, so this is the project which got created. Now if you see, let me scroll down. So this is the project which is created. Okay, so let me just a second, I want to cross check one thing. Yeah, okay, fine. So let this execution, so I'll stop this execution just to make sure. Okay, now all right, so this is the project which got created, right? Now all you have to do is once you create the project, you can simply invoke the project by using build now, right? So if I click now, you would see a project getting invoked. See, a project got invoked here. So I'll click on this particular build and I can see the console output as well, whether the project is kicked off or not. And if you see, the same execution is being started by Jenkins now, and if you see on the right hand side, it has launched the project. See, it's executing the scripts. Say this is the project which we are executing. So first test case is over, then it will pick C, second test case, and it is executing the second test case now on the Chrome browser. And this is how the execution will be performed basically, right? Now if your execution breaks, you're gonna get this build in red color. Okay, if the execution goes successfully, then you can, this particular build would be in blue color basically. Okay, now let's go to configure again. Meanwhile this execution will finish. Now let's say now if you see, I'm still executing my build manually, right? I was clicking on build now, but you can also invoke your build automatically at a specific interval. Okay, that is nothing but periodically. You can build your project periodically. Let's say I want to execute my project at, let's say, certain point of time. So let me execute, open this these nodes. Okay, so if you see, I want to, so this is a typical syntax basically. So if I want to execute my build 8:30 in the morning, Monday to Friday, this is the syntax basically. So this is 8:30, so this is your minutes, this is your hour, and this is your weeks basically. Let's say you want to execute your build at every 15 minutes, so this is a syntax. Maybe you can explore on this syntax. Okay, if you see, if you go to your Jenkins, and if you just click on this question mark, this will help you, or maybe you can Google to help understand this syntax. Okay, now let me show you this one now. So let's say I want to invoke my build every, let's say, 1 minute. So all I'm going to do here, I'll just say here 1 minute like this. Okay, and let's save the project. So let this build finish first. I think it is about to finish now. See, it has finished, and now I have scheduled another build which should be starting after a minute. Unfortunately, the earlier build is not over. So once this execution over, I have configured the execution for every 1 minute. Ideally, that's not the practical scenario, but just to demonstrate, I have selected for every 1 minute. So let me stop this forcefully. So I'll abort this. Okay, right. So what I did, since it's not stopping, so let me repeat what I did. So I went into build triggers and I configured build trigger for every 1 minute. Okay, so you can configure it for every 15 minutes, or maybe every 8:30 in the morning, or maybe in the evening, and so on and so forth. Okay. I'm gonna give you these notes as well so that you can refer. I have just Googled it basically to find out difference, because it's difficult to remember the syntax for all different timestamps, right? So this is how you can schedule your build through Jenkins. So what we achieved out of this basically, so as I talked in the beginning, earlier, without Jenkins, in order to execute your project, you requires basically manual intervention, right? Whereas if you want, so if you, in order to remove that manual intervention, basically we integrated our automation project onto Jenkins basically, right? And through build triggers, through build triggers build periodically basically, so we can invoke our automation projects at a specified time basically. Correct, that's what we achieved here. And of course we created freestyle project here, right? So how we have created, so we clicked on new item and then we created a freestyle project, right? Now similarly, the way we integrated our Java project onto Jenkins, in the same fashion you can also integrate your Maven project. So all you have to do is just click on new, and then again let's say I'm gonna integrate our Maven project, so I'll just say Selenium, let's say Maven integration. I'm gonna say some name here, Selenium Maven project, let's say Jenkins. Of course you need to give me some meaningful name here. I'm giving some dummy names. So all you have to do is select Maven project and give some name here and just say okay, right? Now again we need to follow two steps here. Let's say this is my Maven project. Let's say this is my Maven project, right? Now in case of a Maven project, guys, you need to configure pom.xml basically, right? And of course copy the project path first. So I'll copy the project path. So this is my project path, and you need to okay, so you straight away go to your advanced, okay, and just a second, okay, sorry, go to your build, just a second here, right? You need to go here and you can straight away specify your pom.xml path basically, okay? So you just copy this path and just put it over here. So basically in case of a Maven project, we need to invoke your pom.xml basically, right? And you need to specify certain goals called as test, and that's it. This is the simple step in case of Maven, because we execute our testing.xml file through pom.xml in case of Maven projects, and the goal which we call is test, and simply save the project. And again, so now this time let's configure this periodically stuff. So I will just uncheck this and I'll say build periodically, and I'll copy the syntax. Let's say I want to build every one minute. Let's say if this works in now, okay, every 1 minute, right, like this, and let's see if it works now. Okay, so now the scheduler has started and it will wait for 1 minute and hopefully it should start if we have done the right things. Let's see. Okay, so till the time this gets started, let's summarize what we learned. So so basically we learned, so we know that there are two types of project, right? One is the Java project and one is the Maven project. We can integrate both projects onto Jenkins. If you want to integrate plain Java project onto Jenkins, we have to take the help of bat file. So we created bat file and we configured that bat file onto Jenkins. We also need to specify what is the workspace basically, so that the bat file gets split against that workspace, right? Because bat file of course is there in the specific workspace. Then another style of integrating is through Maven project. So you created Maven project and that Maven project we integrated onto Jenkins basically. We called pom.xml and we defined basically goals for our pom.xml. That's how we did for Maven project, right? So let's wait. I'll just refresh the project to see if this works. Yeah, if you see, do you see guys, it has invoked the project. So let me open this project again. And just a second. Oh no, the earlier project is not yet finished. And that's the reason I believe the other ones are not working. So let me see why this is not getting stopped. For some reason it is stuck actually. The earlier execution is stuck here. That's the reason it is not invoking, because it's not finding the free agent, or rather the free port to execute the code. Anyway, so once the time elapses, basically you should see that particular build is getting started. Okay, unfortunately, since this is not getting over, it's not able to invoke the other ones. Okay, all right. So that is about it in terms of integrating your Selenium WebDriver code to basically Jenkins. All right, then. Thank you. Bye bye.